seen me before, I'm Becca and I'm currently 35 weeks pregnant with a little boy. I am pre-filming this, so I'm 35 weeks when filming this. I'm not sure how many weeks when this goes up, so yeah. So this video is just going to be kind of being pregnant during the pandemic, like a story time of kind of how it's all been for me, how I've been feeling, just how different it is compared to just being pregnant normally. I also wanted to film this so that I could obviously look back on it in a couple of years' time and see, oh, that's how it was. Yeah, it's probably once a lifetime thing, to be honest. I've seen a couple of people do these videos and I found them really interesting, so I thought, might as well do it myself. Please follow me on my social medias if you want to follow kind of my pregnancy journey. I mostly upload on Instagram and TikTok. They are the main two places. A lot of you probably come from TikTok, which everybody that supports me on TikTok is so lovely, and thank you so much. All my usernames will be down below. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. So I'm going to start from when I first got pregnant. So I got pregnant in November. If I keep looking down, it's because I have wrote it down to look at, to remember. I have really bad baby brain. Not good. So I got pregnant in November, and then January, we all started hearing about this coronavirus in China, and I wasn't worried at first because I thought, oh, it's just another thing happening, because we've never had anything this big really that sticks out in my head, so we're just like, oh, another thing that's happening. And then we heard that some schools, like in the local area, like they'd come back from a ski trip and possibly brought it into the school, and it was just getting quite weird, but we weren't too worried. That was January through to February, just going about normal, but it was still on the news. So then kind of middle of February, I started being really cautious. Just, my anxiety is high with things like this, and then we just started being cautious about like washing my hands a lot more than normal, and I already had a problem with being clean and washing my hands loads. I started washing them way too much, to the point that they were like breaking the skin. It was honestly awful, and that was just from washing my hands. I was over washing my hands ridiculous amounts. And like I said, I've always had a problem with being too clean and washing my hands way too much anyway, and they always made my hands go like that, so yeah. So on the 16th of March, I went to my 20-week scan with my mum, and we were just at my scan, came back from my scan. This was when everything was starting to kind of kick off a bit with the government's daily meeting, conferences and things. And we came back from my scan, and then on the news, on the coronavirus meeting thing, it announced that pregnant women should isolate for 12 weeks and they are more vulnerable to the virus. And that really actually did quite scare me, because there was no information out there saying what it would do to you or what it would do to your baby, and I just really did not want to catch it and harm my baby. Unspeakable. Just, I cannot even talk about it. It's horrible, the thought. So I then started Googling everything, every little piece of information that I could find. I would be just looking at it, reading it, finding it out, talking to my mum about it. So then at that point, I decided to stop going to college. I emailed my teacher, and she completely understood. She was absolutely fine about it, and there was nothing really you could do about it. So then that was the 16th of March, and then on the 23rd of March, that's when lockdown was announced. But in between that time, just before when the schools closed, I can't remember what date that was, 2 days before the schools closed, my sister came down really ill. Now, we haven't obviously been able, at the time you couldn't get a test, You couldn't find out what it was. You just had to isolate and stay ill. But she was ill to the point she could not get out of bed. She was coughing loads. She ached. She had a headache. She wouldn't eat. All she wanted was to drink water. Just loads and loads of water. She was ill for quite a while. And then, 4 days after my sister got ill, my mum came down ill. And now, at first when my sister got ill, we weren't really too worried. Like, nah, it won't be. She'll just have an illness. She brought it back from school. But her friend was really ill at the time as well. And he couldn't even contact my sister anymore. And they're best friends. And it was kind of getting a bit weird. But we stayed in, isolated, like you're supposed to. But we were just thinking to ourselves while we're in it'll be fine. I've got pins and needles in my leg. I can't remember where I was. So I'll go back to my sister being ill. She couldn't contact her friend because he was really ill. And we think she got it from him, and we don't know where he got it from. But he was worse than my sister. And then, like I said, my mum got ill 4 days after my sister got ill. And at the start, my mum had this weird feeling in her chest, and she just thought, hay fever, or because she just cut the grass, and it was fine. And then she went to bed, and the next day she woke up coughing. She was extremely ill. She couldn't get out of bed. Now this is where I got really scared, because I was trying to look after my siblings whilst my mum was really ill and didn't know what to do. Had to ring my dad to drop off shopping because we had no one else to be able to do it down here, because our family live 40 minutes away. So just had my dad to do that. So he dropped off shopping every week for us. I just had to send him a list and he'd drop off shopping. And then when my mum was ill, she could not move. Her head hurt. She was hurting behind her eyes, like burning up. It was awful. And it was so upsetting because me and my mum were really close, and I used to go and sit on her bed every morning. We used to be together all the time. And then I had to keep my distance from her just in case it was, and obviously I was pregnant in the house, which was horrible. So what we had to do was I just had to keep giving my mum jugs of water in her room if she wanted any food, even though she barely ate, because it did make her sick in the end. Like, she actually threw up from it, which my sister didn't. So she barely ate, and all she would do was just keep drinking. And then her cough lasted a good 6 weeks afterwards. So she'd been ill with the virus. We're pretty sure it was. And then her cough lasted 6 weeks afterwards. But on the guidelines, it said if you've been in and you've isolated for that many days, your cough can still persist for that long, but it's not contagious from it, if that even makes sense. But that's what the guidelines said. So the cough can last, but it's not living anymore. Don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So she was absolutely fine. All she had was this cough. And then my other sister came down ill. Not as bad as my other sister and mum, but she was ill for a good 2 or 3 days. Just with the temperature, coughing slightly, and just wasn't well. Now, the only 2 people in this house that didn't get it was me and my little brother. And I genuinely think it's because we don't have tonsils. I may be sounding so stupid there, but I think it's because me and my brother don't have tonsils and the other 3 do. And if it was this contagious, surely me and my brother should have got it. So that's why we're a little bit doubtful that it was the virus, but every single symptom they had was part of the virus. So I don't know. I've had a blood test done to see whether I've got antibodies against the virus. I had that done at the hospital. I haven't had the results yet. But surely that way we'll know whether I could have just had it in my body, fought it off without having any symptoms, or what, we don't know. So we had done Nearly a week of isolating ourselves, and then Boris announced that we had to be in lockdown. So we'd done an extra kind of nearly week of lockdown already, and then now we're told we have to stay in again. So, and our 2 weeks isolation just basically went into lockdown. We were still isolating, we didn't go out for shopping for those 2 weeks. Didn't see anybody. That were the hardest 2 weeks ever, not being able to even go out and get some shopping. It was horrible, but I had to do it to save everybody's lives, I guess. So then now during lockdown, everything started to get a little bit better. My anxiety at the start was horrible. It was absolutely awful. I didn't know, because nobody knew what it was or what anything was. So horrible. So then during lockdown, I had to go to my appointments, my midwife appointments on my own, which I was doing anyway, so that didn't really faze me. But going to the hospital and getting the glucose tests done and any extra scans and appointments I had at the hospital, I had to go in on my own, which wasn't too bad, but I did not want to do. I don't think anybody wants to go on their own. So I couldn't have my mum there. And then another thing that was absolutely awful was the shops had all closed, and I really was just getting excited to go shopping, looking for baby stuff, looking at the prams. There was this shop called Kitty's Kingdom that I really wanted to go to, but obviously I couldn't because it was closed. And now I am 35 weeks pregnant, and the shops have reopened. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, but I already basically had everything. So I had to order everything online, and when you were online shopping, you had to go in a queue online to then get onto the shop, to then find out everything had been sold out anyway. It was the most annoying process. But anything I could get online, I just ordered and got it shipped here. And the most annoying thing as well, the amount of boxes we had from things being delivered was ridiculous. And a lot of my stuff, my baby clothes, actually have come from the supermarket, because I haven't been able to go to the actual shops, like the little cute baby shops and things I would have loved to go to. But I basically got everything in the supermarkets. And I mean, they are quite nice things. I got everything that I thought was lovely. But it would have been nice to be able to go actually baby shopping. So I missed out on baby shopping because of this pandemic thing. The next thing that really did upset me was the fact that I had planned a baby shower for the end of May and couldn't have it because of the whole lockdown thing. And so that means I missed out on my baby shower, and now it's definitely way too close to try and have one now, because not even allowed to have the people mixing right now. So I missed out on having a baby shower, which really wasn't the nicest thing. I'll just have something once baby's here and you're allowed again. So I was devastated about that. So during lockdown, we actually we were quite productive, me and my mum. She helped a lot. So what we did was I moved rooms and changed rooms with my sister, because I was on the second floor at the start and she was in this room, and so we just switched rooms while they were at Dad's one weekend. I've got right dead leg. Ow. So yeah, we just swapped. So my sister said she'd rather go to Dad's and keep out the way, and we just move her stuff for her. So we just swapped the whole rooms around. My sister's really happy up there now, and this is a bigger room so that I have a lot more space for me and the baby, because there was no way that the baby was going to fit in the room upstairs. There was just not a chance. I've had to kind of sit on an angle now because my leg is so dead. And as well, during lockdown, I got obviously my cot, put that up, the changer, organised everything. Everything was so organised. I think I did it about 10 times. I got everything out and reorganised it all. So another thing I missed because of this lockdown was my driving test. Now, I had my driving test booked for the 14th of April so that I would be driving, because I have a car and everything's all sorted, but I just needed to pass my practical test, and that was the 14th of April, and that got cancelled. And I still haven't heard back from the DVLA or whatever it is saying when I have my next, like when I have my test booked again. But I had still have driving lessons paid, a couple left with my driving instructor, so she said wait until I get my test date and then I can do them up to the test date and then just do my test. But it's annoying because I'm either going to be this far along pregnant, and I am not going to be able to do my driving test because I have to like do the manoeuvres and stuff, and it's just not going to be easy, or I will have to do it with a newborn baby. So I'll either be really tired or really pregnant. So that's annoying. I could have been driving by now. So yeah, that's a bummer. And then also I've just recently finished all of my college work. They had to adapt it to being able to pass during lockdown, but in the end I have finished all of my level 2 beauty work, and that is now all in, signed off and sent off. So I've finished college for this year. Another thing is the new hospital rules. Now this really actually upsets me, because it just, the thought of not being able to have my mum there by my side, and I know I'm older now and things like that, but I'm quite scared. And my mum is just the person that like reassures me, so the thought of not being able to have her there at the start of my labour is awful. So basically, if I get induced, I have to go in on my own, go like for induction on my own, and my mum on any birth partner is not allowed in until you're at, I think, till you're in established labour, and I think that's 4 centimetres, which is awful. Like the fact that I'm going to have to go in, start it all off on my own, it just really scares me. Nobody should have to do that. It's just unfair. And then if I go into natural labour, I have to go into the labour ward on my own, wait till they can check to see how many centimetres dilated I am, and if I am in established labour then they'll bring me in, and then I'll have to tell my mum she can come in. And yeah, but it's supposed to be a nice thing, not something you have to worry about being allowed to have your birth partner there. So, and then after having your baby, you are not allowed any visitors, and your birth partner has to leave 4 hours after you having the baby, which isn't exactly the best. But I'm hoping that I don't have to like get put onto a ward or anything. I'm just gonna be able to go straight away. Like obviously after the baby's had all the checks and things, I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to go as soon as possible. And the last thing is, one of the things that just I found funny was I went into lockdown being not so very big. You couldn't really tell I was pregnant at all. And now I'm coming out of lockdown, heavily pregnant, basically about to have my baby. And it's just strange because I saw my best friend before lockdown, and then when I met up with her again, I think it was last week or the week before, she was like, oh my god, you have changed. It's like, really? Yeah, I know. So I went into lockdown basically not even anybody knowing. You couldn't even see that I was pregnant, to coming out huge. So yeah, that was my kind of lockdown pandemic story. If you enjoyed, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new, please subscribe because it would mean a lot to me. If you have any suggestions of videos that I could do, please comment them down below because I need some suggestions. I'm not sure. So yeah. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!